Elohim is an interesting topic. Very, very deep topic when it comes to ancient civilizations, and even now we see that spiritual community. This concept called Elohim. What's Elohim? Well, studying ancient civilizations, I remember pyramids before I got into channeling. I was trying to figure out who built all these pyramids and Göbekli Tepe and all these sites. So I remember traveling United States, Egypt, many different areas, Turkey, and all this stuff to see what's going on with these pyramids, who built them. I was very, very interested in our ancient civilizations, going back to Tartaria days as what we perceive it as Tartaria. So I wanted to make sure I understood this concept very, very well. And the term Elohim obviously kept popping up all the time, every word, Elohim this, Elohim that. So I said one day I'm going to figure out who the Elohim is, but I wanted to get to know it to the point, quite accurate point of who they are. And I understood that now, and many days ago, and many weeks ago, and for years now, that they don't talk to a lot of humans. And the original Elohim that were here during the second visit of the Anunnakis, they're no longer incarnated. So they don't talk to any humans. The descendants, with their own genetic material, the original genetics of the Elohim, yes, that race does exist, and I call them the descendants. This would be my terminology. The cousins. They are a physical race now with full version that does exist. They're physical, very powerful beings who are even outranking the Anunnaki status if we were to compare that side by side. And back then, when the real Elohim walked the earth, there was a conflict between the Anunnakis during the second visit and the real Elohim. And when it comes to humans calling Elohim or the human creators, is that true? I'm not sure. I do wonder what the audience has to say, so I do welcome your comments. Earth elements, are they protectors of that? Are they our human parents? Are they our creators? Did they create the atmosphere? What did they create? Are they our protectors today? Or did they give their hands up and says, you know, we're going to give it to another race to be custodians of the earth? What happened? What happened between Anunnakis and Elohim is a big question. But I definitely disagree that Elohim, original Elohim, are talking to humans today through channel state. Impossible. Impossible, 100% verified information. It's the descendants that humans are connecting to. Certain humans, very few amount of channelers, like 3. So they do take on humans, this race, to do tutorage and training and so forth. And when it comes to these extraterrestrial groups or extra-dimensional groups we call Elohim, there's definitely a lot of confusion and misunderstanding by humans. Who is Elohim? Some call Anunnakis the Elohim. Some call Elohim the Anunnakis. Some call angels the Elohim. Some call them Pleiadian humanoid saviors. Are they Lemurian? Are they Atlantean? So there's so many different misunderstandings and so forth. But not a single entity, the original Elohim from back in the day when they walked the earth, is alive today. Another fact that I realized and found out through verified information is that a small fractal of their own DNA is within us humans. We have one of their contribution. It is a given contribution, not a smuggled or stolen, like the draconian contribution, which was stolen. So the prototype of their DNA, they enhanced it, they used their own technology, the Elohim I'm talking about. They inserted it into their own DNA, then inserted that mix into us humans, or humanoids at that time. I just call them humans. And then mixed with our own DNA. This was done using technology. And then with what this ended up doing was, for us humans, it made us more loving, caring, compassionate, neighborly to one another, less violent, less hateful. And at that time, humans were in worst war crisis than today, constantly involved in wars, and that their DNA contribution then decreased those war tendencies and the rage and the violence. I had a strong desire all these years. I said, you know, I'm a channeler, I'm a proud channeler, a reptilian channeler. I have draconian connections. I have some reptilian connections on Earth, but mainly off planet. But I've never had the opportunity, I've never had a pleasure to talk to a Elohim. So one time I was able to connect with some assistance, of course, and I said to this Elohim entity, I said, greetings, my name is Anthony, I speak from Earth, the region of Canada. I come with open mind, pure intent, loving heart, very, very courageous. Said, I'm here for these authentic reasons, not about any entertainment, any games, any bullshit. Just, this is what I'm here to find out if you will be giving me the opportunity to talk to you. Assess me, third, fourth density state, fifth density state, no problem, no problem. Do what you got to do. My energy matches my words. That's why reptilians accept me into their alliances, because my energy always matches my words. And my principles is truth, honor, and dignity. It isn't fame, it isn't manipulation. It isn't deception, fakeness, arrogance, ignorance, and pretentiousness. So as I've explained how I operate in the human realm, as I explain who I am in the human terms to this Elohim entity, he says, okay, what we're going to do is within our race here, just so that we're very clear with you, just so that there's full transparency with you, do you give us with your free will access to your consciousness? Daytime, nighttime, astral time, sexuality, arguments, emotions, thought process. I said, okay, fair enough. I give you that, because my higher self told me previously, that this entity sort of leaned towards the benevolent side, not the malevolent side. And then what I also found out through my higher self is that with that race now, so their descendants, the physical race of Elohims today, they have enough power. They're not a very famous war race, but they have enough power, enough consciousness to have full capacity to be extremely great and positive and loving, but also to be neutral, so emotionless, or to be very bad and manipulative with those tactics. But this member, when I connected, was very benevolent, straight up, to the point, very professional too. And he giggled each time I asked the question, which I'm going to get into in this video. So he answered many questions, and I told him the purposes of me even having a conversation and discussion, this entire introduction, is truly for me to grow. I'm a student. I'm always a student. I've been a student 20 years ago, 10 today, 20 years from now. I am a sponge for information. I want to know everything about everything. I see myself as what KALASK told me once. They said we're the ultimate philosophers. Well, I'm a human philosopher then, without the degree from the school, which these degrees are useless, but my mental capacity, in my perspective, has ability and an urge and a desire and a fire to get as much as wisdom as I can and to understand how to perfect energy, purpose of my incarnation. So I'm expressing many different things, including what I just said, and the Elohim was listening. And he says, so what we're going to do is we're going to tap into your energy, we're going to look at your energy levels. We're not going to intervene, and we're not going to participate in watching your private parts of your life. That has to do with what humans perceive to be embarrassments and things of that sort. But we want to get to know your heart process, your thought process. And we're not going to pressure you, put anything, do anything against your will, but we definitely want to have your permission first. I said, great, I give you my free will. So this monitoring starts, and I didn't notice anything for the next few days. Just like none of us would notice. We go to work, we meditate, we channel, we hang out with our loved ones or pets or families. So there's not attention to be really paid. There's not a lot of energy drop. It's not like draconians are monitoring you, which I went through that process. Yeah, you're crawling on the floor because you're so drained and tired. But I agreed to work with this entity. I trusted this entity. I said, great, no problem, and let's give it a risk. And there is no success without risk taking in this industry. So I said, okay, let's do it. So then several days go by. I would say about anywhere between 10 days to 2 weeks go by. And then I have another opportunity to connect. And one of the first things I asked him, I said, okay, so now I can ask you questions. I said, are you the Anunnaki? Are you the Elohim? Who are you? Are they fake gods? Are you not? So he explained, he goes, listen, as far as the Anunnakis were concerned, they were very bad to humans, and we didn't agree with what they were doing. We did not agree with genetic modifications. We didn't agree with them locking your codes. We didn't agree of them dumbing you down and all these things. So are they Elohim? Yes and no. Depends who's asking. Depends what culture you're telling this to. But are they us? He says no. I said, are the Anunnakis fake Elohim then? Is it appropriate for me to say, is it appropriate for me to go, they're fake? So then again, he completely explained, and he says, well, the fake terminology is inappropriate, but you're talking about two different concepts, Elohim and Anunnakis. We came first, Anunnakis came later. So due to human lack of understanding, lack of input knowledge, lack of proper education, lack of willpower and determination to find out the truth. Many other misrepresentations on earth is the reason why he stated humans will never know who we truly were. Humans call everybody gods. Oh, look, ship gods. Oh, look, ship this. Look, constantly, humans are primitive to constantly worship someone. It's inserted into our DNA. Worshipping gene, in fact, is inserted into all human DNA. So he said, yeah, humans worshipped anything that came from the sky as gods. But they didn't realize that some of them were manipulating humans, abusing humans, harming humans, particularly during the Anunnaki's very first time here. Hence, the second time intervention. And the Anunnakis at the time, it's humans call them Anunnakis. First of all, that's not their name. That's an internet name, Sakarya Sitchin and other translations. There's an ancient name, I'm aware of that name. Just like Nibiru is not their planet, just like Enlil's not one of the brothers, Enki is not one of the brothers, completely misrepresented name, mistranslated names. They were present here during the pyramid buildings. Thoth executed it with the entire army that he came with. Elohim overseen and all these things. So this entity, Elohim, descendant I've spoken with, explained truly from his perspective the manipulation, the revisions, lab experiments, and rapes and these things. And I said, well, what density are you? What dimension are you? There was no answer. He says when you strip away the energy and the time and take out the focus of time, his collective consciousness cannot be stated to be fourth or fifth or 5.7 or 5.6 or 6.3. He is physical, yes, but at the same time, he doesn't have a density because there's such a large consciousness. I said, okay, I didn't want to get into it. It probably would have hit me with an answer that I wouldn't even understand. But I said, okay, well, why do humans have so much fear? This programming of fear. And then he said that this was done intentionally by the beings to have extremely malevolent motives towards humans and lack of empathy, lack of emotions and lack of empathy. And he stated that his group, the way he worded it, he said, all we did was, or all we could have done was give you the abilities, the love, the care, the knowledge, the understanding of the truth. That was related to your own growth and to make sure that you can live a very long, healthy lifestyle. But many humans at that time were already uncalculated, as he's explained. That's the terminology. I wouldn't have used that word, but he said uncalculated. And they were utilizing your own instincts to kind of gauge through life, and they were okay with being genetically modified. They called gods the wrong beings, so we just left the humans alone. And these beings were installing fear programs because we are a system, we're a program in this particular reality realm. This isn't very physical as much as we think it is, but so these Anunnaki beings installed many different programs within us and locked certain things within us, including the keys. And to this day, this Elohim said, humans are trying to figure out who they are, waiting to be saved, which I completely agree with. So he's explained when it comes to fear and love, the love obviously is the path to take in life. He stressed that enough. Always take love in life. Not divisions, take love. And love your fellow humans, which is kind of difficult to do in this world. But those were his ideas, as he's mentioned. He said actually that's important for humans to take this task, very important. Those that can love and live and let vibration of teaching and sharing and helping one another, common truth that truly humans require and do is we teach each other, we inspire each other. We'll learn from one another, we grow outward that way. So he explained the illusions on earth and how the truth is always manipulated and the truth is always hidden and the truth is always suppressed, or it's called a conspiracy. Not in him calling it a conspiracy, but he explained it in a way that it made sense for me, that was a terminology he attempted to use. He understood my own path, which I wouldn't necessarily need to get in on a camera and explain. I've expressed in my path, he agreed what I was doing, and I was on my path doing my thing, and he admired the fact that I'm not living a standard, regular, third density life, going to work and dying like 50, 60 years later, and at the end, out of retirement, out of a company, you get like a watch. So he understood my own path to want to get to know celestial, a lot of interstellar and cosmic and galactic topics, to grow interdimensionally, to awaken my own keys, to learn to channel, to talk to the beings that are just too jarring for a visual aspect. And he gave me some compliments. He was correct. I appreciate it. Of course, anytime any being ever gives me a compliment, I learn from it. I look at that and say, why? Well, he recognized that. That's impressive. I guess I'm doing something right. And he gave me some advice, I guess, to share, and he said, always look deeper within yourself. Ask yourself the internal questions. Do not ask externally. Do not expect an answer. Do not think society owes you a favor. Go in, heal the in, connect to the in. And I remember when I stumbled upon one of my first big truths, very big truths that shocked me in my own spiritual path. It was a monumental shift for me personally, and it changed my whole understanding of myself. It was because this Elohim and consciousness advised me to look within, connect to the thing, aka connect to your soul, which many channelers don't do. They sit, close eyes, boom, they're talking to someone, hence they're all hijacked. Soul is number one. Soul is number one. Soul work's number one. And we had that agreement, of course, and he said that the focus, his intention, is to connect back to humans. After I said I believe that humans would find this extremely useful. And then I explained the intentions. He looked at almost the things that, from his perspective, were roadblocks to certain humans or blockages to certain humans due to resistances, conditionings, belief systems, programmings, but also too just standard ignorance. And then he explained in a positive way that he sees human beings selecting on what they wish to consider to be truth in life, which is true. And he said that the one concern with humans that not his race said, he spoke personally. He never used the term we, as he just says singular, like I say this and I think this, is that they pick and choose the choosing of what they like. They pick and choose to see what is truth and what's not truth, instead of looking the entire story and learning the good and the bad, embracing both, so duality. And he spoke against religious programming, and when it comes to religious philosophy and all these things, that's not truth. Because the truth of our ancient past, real builders, visitations, such as this race, such as the Anunnakis, beings that came from Anunnakis. Anunnakis weren't first here. Humans at that time weren't the first ones here. He said that there are greater, deeper truths, much, much bigger, deeper truths for humans to understand about human history and the creation of humans and the gradual steps that humans went through, the gradual growth. And the humans should hear this and learn this, and I completely agree, humans should. Not everything, the focus should be about some ascensions that are not happening. Mass contact, that's not happening. Open contact, that's not happening. Medbeds, guys, none of this is happening. Real galactic, truthful pieces of information, intelligence comes from looking in within, connecting to the soul, and then utilizing the soul as a buffer, as a telephone operator to call an entity. A reptilian, non-reptilian cares. Soul work should always come as number one, in my perspective, because the soul will never filter the information. Concepts will be always told truthfully. So as this being was really speaking, in my mind, I was just going, wow, he's right. Oh wow, he's right again. Amazing, he's right again. And so forth, and so forth, and so forth. Particularly about the hidden information about the ancient civilizations that are hidden from us, the true builders of many structures and pyramids and so on. And he's absolutely spot on with that information. I didn't sense 1% to be malevolent, negative, manipulating. So one of the last things I've asked him is that, is there a message, not that I'm a messenger, but is there a message that you would wish for me to tell the humans with an open mind? And then he said, yeah, the humans that have great intent, that have openness, that have a desire for truth, and the highest truth, to highest importance in their life is truth. So that level of vibration, that level of light, as he called it. He said, yes, we desire to work with humans, as they had this, some kind of a, I don't want to use the word program, but it was some kind of a concept they had where they desire to work with humans. And he explained that humans should incorporate and embrace both the light and the dark to understand duality, to see the great opportunities within this, which I agree, of course. And for humans to understand what are they working for, to understand what are you working for, what are you living for, why are you here, remember who you are, remember where you came from, and all these things. So advice that just replicates all the advice that I was given over the years by different entities. And he had his Elohim council, as he called it, or the elder Elohim council that he called it. I never spoke to that council or anything, but I remember him mentioning it, that a lot of the ideas that they do goes through this council. and they look for certain candidates, certain humans that would be a great candidate with telepathy already, with understanding of densities that they are able to work through to sort of bring back that love, that compassion, and the information about the ancient civilizations and their presence and the history of Elohim to the Earth's collective today. I believe the last question he asked me about my desires. So he said, what do you want to know? So I was like, perfect question. So where do you live? Where do you reside? What do you look like? If you're physical, give me your body weight, height, eye color, dimension, power, strength, density. What wars do you fight? What involvement with Earth do you have? What involvement right now do you have with the Empire? What involvement do you have with Pleiadians, with Andromedans, with any other race that we utilize these terminologies here on Earth, Pleiadian, Andromedan, Arcturus or Arcturians? How are you the Anunnakis? Can you give me a story of one of their visits? Can you give me your story? What's the best thing you've done for humans? What's the worst thing? Who are the fallen angels? Who's the Nephilim? So forth and so forth. Like, I had so many questions to ask him, and I probably would have hours and hours worth of questions for this consciousness if we connected today. But as I've expressed my own questions and ideas and topics that really piqued my interest, or I would say my own curiosity, I told him straight up, I said, I'm extremely curious. I said, don't mind my questions. I said, but not every day you wake up in life and you get to talk to an Elohim, so don't mind my questions. And of course he did, and he giggled. And he said, I have a curious mind, exquisite curiosity or something. I said, yes, of course. I just desire to learn energy and wisdom in this life. And that's the point of my incarnation. And as I've expressed to him, holding the interest to encompass many of those ideas, what's the procedure and how do I incorporate my own energy of curiosity, but also manifestation energy, and how am I able to do that and obtain as much as information. And I believe for him it was extremely entertaining. I'm not sure if this was fun for him, but it was entertaining to see there's this one human, he's got 10 minutes to talk to you and he's just bombarding the questions. That's really what it was me bombarding questions. And the very, very last thing that he ever said, he said that it wasn't towards me, it wasn't towards humans or anything, but he just kind of gave it a general comment that it was wonderful for him that they ended up playing out the parents to us humans. And they've watched us humans for thousands of years. They guided humans, and because humans had some bad masters, aka Anunnakis, who humans called parents, but those were not true parents to humans, which is true. And he understands that, and he says he hopes that humans obtain the true evidence, memory, education, tutorage, wisdom, to be able to understand who truly cared for humans. And again, he repeated for the second time. First time was almost like a comment throughout his statements, but now he explained it that when it comes to the gift they gave to humans was their DNA. And humans at first utilized these gifts for the good, because they were loving, they were caring, they were very intelligent, very, very smart. But then all that changed, because the influence around humans at that time, in those ancient times, was very malevolent, very bad, very negative, manipulative influence. And it's very easy to manipulate humans. We know that today. So the energy of a human changed. The consciousness of a human stayed the same, but it's just that the conscious mind took over, not the tools, the gifts that the Elohim gave. And I believe one of the things that was important for me to learn is that they're still sort of somehow, in some way, involved with Earth. Somehow, some way they are. And I remember hearing it from a friend of mine in 2016. He channeled them once, and he said that, as per their own statement, that they would wish to tell humans in 3D here not to concentrate on 3D life, even though we live in 3D. Arrogance, attitude, fights, arguments, division, segregation, no. So he's absolutely correct, this entity, he, she, it, whatever his name is, but they're absolutely correct where humans are experts at wars, experts at division, experts, just pure psychopaths, I think. The best destroyers of our, as far as nature is concerned and environment and so forth. But I do believe that humans that are pursuing the connection of professional channeling and authorized members of certain races, I mean, these are dignified humans. They have devoted a tremendous amount of time to find out the truth. And this is great. My support to them. I applaud them. I think they're brave and courageous humans, and there's plenty I know in this industry. And a lot of the underground channelers. I'm sort of an underground channeler myself. So, but as far as, in conclusion, is the real Elohim, the real creators Are they still alive? No, absolutely they're not alive. And anyone that says they're talking to real Elohim from back in the ancient times, they're absolutely lying. The descendants through genetic ties and connections of those Elohims, yes, this race does exist. And as per the verified information, they're very heavily tied to the Elohim's consciousness, the memories, the teachings, the tutorage, the culture, the expectations, and just the mindset itself. And in conclusion, this was a very benevolent involvement of a human and an Elohim. There was no malevolence, there was no disrespect. It was a wonderful experience. And I suggest it to everybody, if this is what they gravitate to connect to the Elohims.